Starting a little later today, I was watching some of the updates from Helene, and that is just about as much as we expected. Got to talk about Helene hitting the Bend area of Florida's west coast. Trump back in New York. Kamala criticizes her own policies, and it's a sad day. I may never recover from this. Hoda is leaving me. I'll explain that weird reaction in a little bit, but in the meantime, we made it to Friday, everybody. Friday, September 27th. Here we are. Hope you had a great week. We got a weekend on tap. We'll talk about that a little bit too, but let's get to some of the headlines. Some of the stuff to talk about today. Trump, a triumphant return to where it all started. Well, where it all started in politics anyway. Right in front of that golden escalator he came down in, remember, 2015? And when it was candidate Trump, and nobody knew what to expect. What is this guy going to be like? You know, even independents were saying, oh, I don't know. It's going to be too extreme for a lot of us. I don't know how that's going to go. Well, we know how that turned out. We had some great 4 years, and then we know what happened after that. But he returned. He called it an emergency press conference at Trump Tower yesterday. Now, covered a lot of topics, covered first and foremost, immigration, and he hammered Kamala on the immigration policy once again. And I think, you know, as we're 40, 39, whatever, how many days it is before the election, I think this is the confirmation that it's immigration that is the number one topic. At least Trump's campaign internal people are telling him it's stick with immigration because it ties into everything else. It ties into crime. People are worried about that. It ties into the economy, of course. Immigration itself. It ties into human trafficking. Hit the immigration crisis, and it is a crisis, time and time again, and that's exactly what he did. I've got that for you here in just a second, but first of all, there's something else about this, and I've been thinking this for a while. He will not let it go, and I don't think he should, because I think this matters more to people than what the political nerds and the talking heads and the suits on TV realize. There's something about Kamala's cockamamie story about working at McDonald's that has hit Trump to the core. Like he's really personally offended by it. That guy loves McDonald's. He does. Of all the stuff she came out with, even during the debate, all the hoaxes that she pushed, the Find People hoax and the letters from the intelligence officials hoax, any other hoax you want to pick, and then she came out with the McDonald's thing again. I'm telling you guys, something about this has touched a nerve with him, and he hates that. This guy loves his McDonald's. This is what he said about it. He's upset.
Just like nobody talks about it, but Kamala never had a job at McDonald's. Her resume talks about McDonald's. I worked at the French fry counter. It was so tough, so hot. She didn't work there. She never worked at McDonald's. It was a lie.
Now, there's going to be a lot of talking heads, even on the Trump campaign, that work for him, with him, advisors, whoever it is. I will guarantee you that are telling him, sir, get off the McDonald's thing, please. Nobody cares. It seems to be some sort of personal issue with you. Maybe push the McDonald's thing a little less hard. And he'll say, absolutely not. Because I think that guy, even being a billionaire, understands the temperament of the American people, the psyche and mindset of the American people more than most. You may not be a fan of McDonald's. I actually haven't been in, it might be even a couple of years since I've been to a McDonald's, just a personal choice. But whether or not you like McDonald's, that place feeds a nation. And when you got one of the candidates lying about working there, when a lot of people are struggling to put literally food on the table and they're trying to find any part-time job they can, and you lie about working there in your past, and nobody can corroborate that, by the way. Nobody can actually say, oh, yeah, there's an employment record in 1976 that Kamala worked at a McDonald's in San Francisco. No one's found out with that. And it would be somewhere. There'd be a picture. There'd be a Polaroid. There'd be something. That does matter to people. He changed my mind on this yesterday. I think he's actually right. I think he's exactly right about this. Don't lie about working at McDonald's. It offends a lot of people. All right, he also, more serious topic. He did talk about the economy, obviously. Incredibly upset about that, as he should be, and immigration and crime. And it was just the other day that Kamala Harris did that interview on MSNBC where she talked about that border bill, and you and I talked about this yesterday. Yeah, to Trump, he told Congress to take it off the table. We had a border bill. Well, he cleared all that up, and this is what he said regarding that.
Nearly 4 years, we have been living through the worst border crisis in the history of the world. There's never been anything like it. which has brought untold suffering, misery, and death upon our land.
You know, he also got
The
into...
architect of this destruction
Sorry.
is Kamala Harris.
There it is. There's the most important line of all. Keep tying her to that because it was her responsibility. I was never the border czar. I don't care what you call it. They put you in charge of the border, and you didn't go. I went to the border. You were 45 minutes away from the border. And apparently now, Trump was also... a lot of people are saying that this is the reason for the so-called emergency press conference at Trump Tower. She's going to the border now. Of course, she could have done that. She could have done something about that during the 4 years in office because this is her administration. But no, apparently not. Speaking of being in office already and economic policies, meanwhile, let's go to the economic club.
We just need to move past the failed policies that we have proven don't work.
Knock, knock. They're your policies. I don't know who they still think they're fooling, and it'll wind up being exactly half of the nation. They're actually trying to pull the wool over the eyes for the American people and to say that Trump is the incumbent and they're the challenger. And it's Trump's economic policies that you're living under for these past 4 years. They're actually trying to do that. And some will believe it. You know, the low information voters out there. And God knows there's a lot of them. Not you, if you're watching this. But they're going to try. And it'll be partly successful. But more and more as people look at that and you get closer and closer to pushing that button or sending in that early vote or pulling a lever, punching a Chad, whatever voting system you have throughout the country right now, more and more people are going, wait a minute, you know what? Even if you don't pay attention to this, you're going, that doesn't sound right to me. You know what? She was in charge of this. She's been in office now. We know that much. All right, we got to talk about Helene. Just about as, well, so far anyway, and a lot of the overnight, I was watching a lot of these this morning is where we started late, watching a lot of the videos. Boy, they got the modeling right on this, it appears. Came ashore, I want to get this right, as a Cat 4 in the Big Bend area. A lot of people are talking about Perry, Florida. Usually takes them a while to determine exactly where the exact landfall hit was. But I got to tell you, going by the models, it was almost exactly what they had predicted. And we said this the other day. You know, there's a danger of over-information. You can panic people, but that's better than having none. They had modeling and a cone ready for this thing before they even named it, before it was an officially named storm. That was incredible. So the amount of information that was there was good, but it hit as a Cat 4. Some reports said at 140 miles per hour, about 11, just past 11 p.m. last night. Some gusts were at 155, says the National Hurricane Center. And again, they're talking about Perry, Florida. Even before that, though, and you probably saw a lot of this already because the video of that is out through St. Pete and Tampa and the Port Richey area in the West Coast. I used to live over there. I went to school at USF in Tampa. It's so low-lying. The Sunshine Skyway Bridge, which is massive, that was closed. So was the Franklin Bridge over in Tampa. That was closed as well as that storm surge was just massive. Here's the really scary thing. Usually you see a lot of updates and details as of right now in recovery, you know, as light comes up over that area. You haven't seen a lot. They're talking about it's 1 million as of when we went live stream a couple of minutes ago. I heard 1.1 million people without power so far, and definitely more on the way. Here's Mike's weather page. If you don't follow Mike, this guy's amazing. SpaghettiModels.com, and I know a lot of you do. This guy's incredible. He live streamed this whole thing and is actually still doing it right now as he drove up along the west coast of Florida, and then he curved up and went to Tallahassee, which is where I think he is right now. But he described some of the stuff that's going on, especially with the power outages, as he saw transformers blowing in real time. Here's Mike from Mike's weather page, and you should give him a follow. This guy's amazing.
400,000 people right now without power here in Florida alone. Now, Georgia, you're going to beat Florida, I'm afraid, with power outages. And once the storm enters Georgia.
And it's starting to enter now up to the Valdosta area. The Weather Channel has a lot of people in Valdosta, those areas. And that's the amazing thing about the storm. It's staying, you know, not at a Cat 4, but it's staying intact deep into mainland as it goes up to southern Georgia. So, I mean, he was talking about 400,000 people. It's well over 1 million right now. And as Mike said, and maybe even more in Georgia because of their power systems. But I got to say this, and you may have seen the video or the still shots of this already. They're calling it a city of power workers, of linemen. lined up in Central Florida, ready to jump in as soon as the storm passes. And that's the really dangerous part, to help out the Big Bend area of Florida. Got to say, living down here for a while and seeing the guy in action during emergencies, DeSantis is really good with this kind of stuff. He always gets the information out there. He goes to all the emergency centers. He's really good. Even if you don't like the guy, he is good in an emergency. He's a very, very good manager. And there is a city of power workers. And they always bring out power, linemen from other states and, other cities to line up. And they sometimes stay there for months at a time to get this thing done. There's thousands of trucks ready to go. So as far as recovery, and again, that's the most dangerous part of the operation. They've come a long way on that. They really have. So you wish those people the best. You hope the storm surge isn't as bad, but I think it is going to be. But just goes to show you, I've always said my entire adult life, even in the darkest moments, disasters happening, maybe you're losing your house, the strongest among us always find a sense of humor. What are we talking about with this? Florida man. So this guy, live stream again, it's where everything's happening these days. This guy's name is Matthew Heller, and I think he went live on TikTok. He is the definition of Florida man. Now, I know this is we're mostly radio audio format here, and I get that. But you got to check this video out when you can. Matthew Heller, and I think he went live on TikTok. He's going to lose this house, basically, is what's happening. It's flooded. He's got at least 4 feet of water, and I think his location is north of Tampa, so this was as the storm was developing and heading towards the Big Bend. This guy's got 4 feet of water in what looked like his living room, right? And he's looking out, looks like it was a nice house. He's looking out of his floor-to-ceiling windows and his doors and the flooding and the waves and things from his yard floating past, and it's completely dark because I think it was late last night. He's in a kayak as he's live streaming. Still had cell service, I guess. Just amazing. Here's the other thing. Not only that, he put, if you've got a pool, those chlorinators, those little blue things, and you put the 3-inch tabs in there and they float around. He put that in the living room with the water so he could at least, stay safe and chlorinate. Here's the guy now as he was live streaming. His name is Matt Heller. Florida man rides again.
Or we have we got the chlorine going, so try to disinfect some of this nastiness. That's good. Florida things. Florida man doing Florida things.
If you can have a sense of humor through that, and I'm telling you, when you see the video later on your own time, I mean, it's incredible. He even talks about, he focuses in at one point on bubbles coming up through the water in his living room, or I think it's a living room. And he says, well, that's the foundation. Yeah, there's air coming up out of the foundation. Yeah, probably going to lose that. I got to tell you, and I'll be honest with you, I don't think I would have that presence of mind. I don't think I would be on here with you if I was losing my house right now. I don't know if I'd be live streaming, but that guy did. And God love him. I hope everybody gets the kind of help that they need throughout that whole thing. All right, I got some sad news, personal news. Hoda Kotb's retiring. That's right, from the Today Show. And you're going, Bill, what the heck is with the thing with Hoda Kotb? For years, my friends, listeners on the radio side of thing have teased me for my bizarre fascination with Hoda Kotb. I don't know. I think she's a great broadcaster. That's all I'm going to say. I think she's great. She's been on the Today Show for years. She's been with NBC for I think she said in her goodbye video yesterday, 26 years, I think it is. And she's walking away, and she decided she's going to retire yesterday. I think she's phenomenal. I think she's great. And you know what? For somebody that's been on the air in a high-profile job for that many years on TV, for NBC, not only NBC, all the different departments, NBC News, which is pretty horrific as far as their bias. And we all know about media bias, right? She has stayed away from that and kept her head above the fray in that place for close to 30 years. I think that's absolutely incredible, and I think she's just a great broadcaster. This was Hoda's big goodbye. Her big goodbye yesterday. Sad day. I may never recover.
This is the right time for me to kind of move on. And then I thought about, obviously, I had my kiddos late in life, and I was thinking that they deserve a bigger piece of my time pie that I have. I feel like we only have a finite amount of time.
Sad. Sad for all of us. But it makes a point, too. And I found this out after the fact. I guess apparently she has moved out. She moved her and her kids. You might remember the Hoda story. She's she turned 60 now. But she adopted 2 young kids, 2 young girls. First of all, that's got to be tough, being a mom full-time single mom, I guess. I don't know what her personal situation is, and raising kids like that in that kind of environment that takes so much away from you. She also moved out of New York City. And I guess she's going to work through or into the early part of next year or something. She already left. And I think there's more to this than just wanting more time with the kids, although that's a priority. I think she wanted to get the hell out of New York City, my own personal opinion, as that place turns into a hellscape. One thing, in full disclosure, I've got a daughter going to college in New York City right now. That's one thing. You're in a college atmosphere. You're kind of sort of protected, even though you got to be safe, and she's pretty street smart. But raising a couple of kids in that city right now, until things get better, and let's hope it does, I think that's a major, major factor in all this. Besides the fact that she's right. I mean, you're older now and you want to spend time with your family. She's probably got plenty of money, and she could do other side projects, so good for her. And another major media personality leaving, by the way. There's something to that. I had seen this before. I don't know whether it's related or not. Just paying attention to media things. NBC affiliates, news stations, like local TV stations throughout the country, they had like a bloodbath yesterday. Radio went through it first, and now TV is hitting it hard too. Traditional forms of media, it's less and less in demand. And there's another one. And maybe she saw the writing on the wall. She definitely saw the writing on the wall in New York City. That much I know. All right, but it's a weekend. Let's talk about this. Let's get out of politics and storms and Hoda breaking my heart. Let's talk about movies. I don't know anything about these movies. Actually, the first one for the weekend, if you want to spend your money on this for the kids, The Wild Robot, animated movie from DreamWorks. They have a lot of hopes on this one because DreamWorks needs to make some money back. A robot shipwrecked on an uninhabited island. We saw the trailer a couple of times going to movies over the past couple of months. It just looks weird. I don't know. Check it out. Looks one to stream later on. But then this one. I've heard the description from one movie critic called Megalopolis. It's in the running to be the worst movie of all time, possibly surpassing Eyes Wide Shut. That Stanley Kubrick one. This is Francis Ford Coppola's, apparently, I guess the background of this story is it's taken like 15 years to make or something. It's a sci-fi drama. Adam Driver is in it. He's an architect who wants to recreate the city of New Rome. What's fascinating about this, I wouldn't spend my money on it, I guess. It's supposed to be historically bad. But that's a critic's opinion. Who knows? Make your own judgment. I'm definitely not going to spend any money on it. But we got a weekend. Let's do what we can to help out the people in the Big Bend area of Florida in the wake of that thing, because recovery efforts starting probably now, all the way through the weekend, into the coming weeks, and hopefully not months. They're going to need some help. But have a great day. Thanks for following along, too, by the way. Great progress this week on the little live stream project. Named it, spread it out. It's on X. It's on YouTube. Still working on Rumble. And the audio podcast, by the way, is everywhere, wherever you get them, and share them and download them. So appreciate your time, as always. Don't take any crap from anybody. Have a great weekend. We will reconnect on Monday. Who knows what's going to happen by then? Have an awesome weekend. We'll talk to you soon.